dearies, thank you for tuning into my channel. So what we're going to talk about today is a creepy story about the time that I visited Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum and then the first time that I watched the Demon House documentary. So my channel is basically just a channel where I'm going to tell scary stories, ghost stories, anything that's happened in my life, and I just have fun sharing these, so I just wanted to share them with other people and interact with others about their stories. Okay, so let's get into the story. So I'm going to start with the Demon House documentary. So the Demon House documentary, I watched it with my two sisters, and they came over to my apartment and we viewed it on Amazon Prime. And so it says at the beginning a little like disclaimer, warning, and it says to be cautious because demons are known to go through film and all that type of stuff. So I immediately was like, I'm done with all this ghost stuff in my life. I've always had experiences. Something follows me around regardless of where I go. So I lit candles. I made it very clear that nothing was allowed to be in my house and that I didn't want anything to be here. And so then I was like, okay, we can continue this documentary. So as we're watching it, like crazy things are happening. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it that might want to watch it, so I'm not going to get too into detail on what happens into the documentary, but crazy stuff happens. And then it just kind of ends, and I was like really shocked that they didn't do more with investigating the demon house and that it just ended the way that it had. Anyways, so it finishes, my sisters are about to go home, and I was just so freaked out. I didn't want to be in my house alone because leading up to this night of watching the documentary, I'd had my dog reacting to things, I had seen shadows, like I had already seen some stuff around my house that after watching this, I was just like, there's no way I'm gonna be alone right now. You guys cannot leave right after we just finish this. Like, give me a minute to cool off and calm down. And so I went out into my sister's car and we just listened to music and we were talking and we were just driving circles around the parking lot here at my apartment. And so I'm like looking around like I always do, just kind of, people watching in a way, but it was dark. And I see over by our trash can that we have down here, like a silhouette of a figure that's wearing a hood, but it's from the waist up. There are no legs or anything. I can't see the face. It's just something staring at me, hooded figure, waist up. So that freaked me out. I literally came back to my apartment and was like, nothing can follow me anymore. Like, I'm done. I don't want anything here. Like, I'm done with ghost stuff. Freaked me out for a while. Well, this was only like a month before I went on a Vegas trip with my boyfriend. And so on this Vegas trip, we were finally going to Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum. And I had been waiting for this to open since before it had opened. Like, I was following the announcement dates and all that. So I was so excited to go. And I was just expecting to see things from like the TV show that were recognizable. And so I was just stoked. All things Ghost Adventures there. This was the most exciting day of my life. So we go, and I am in like cloud nine the whole time, just having a great time. None of the rooms are really affecting me. So I'm thinking like, I have for sure shut myself off. I can just enjoy this. I don't have to worry about the ghost side of things. Well, then we get to the Peggy room, and Peggy room was just a whole other story in itself. Like, it was so heavy in there. And they tell you before entering that you have to greet Peggy. You have to let Peggy know you're coming in. So you'll just say, hi Peggy, and you'll walk right in. So of course I'm following instructions because I'm not messing with any demons today. So I go in, I say hi Peggy, I make everyone else in my group say hi Peggy. And then we had some strangers in the group, but like my group was saying hi to Peggy. And so we walk in, we say hi Peggy, and they just shut the door behind you, and the tour guide actually stays outside. And so we're just sitting there waiting for the spirit box to say anything, waiting for Peggy to interact with anyone. And I kind of wanted to ask questions, but at the same time, when you ask questions, you're opening yourself up. So I kind of just sat there and waited for something to happen. Well, something happens. There was this deep, demonic sounding voice that just said, stop. And I was like, did anyone else hear that? Because I definitely heard that. But then other people in the group are over there kind of like giggling to themselves, and they're like laughing and joking around. And I hear it say no. Another deep demonic voice says no. So that of course freaks me out even more. So I'm just like thinking like this group needs to stop what they're doing, because I think they're making this spirit angry. And so I'm over here thinking like, I just want to get out of this room. It's feeling really muggy, it's heavy. I'm starting to feel lightheaded. I don't want to be in here with this doll anymore. And so I start looking towards the door thinking, I just want to leave. I want to get out of here. And the spirit box says leave in that same deep man voice. And so this was like it for me. I was like ready to just exit that room, and lucky for me that's when the tour guide opened the door and was like, okay guys, like we're exiting this room, make sure you say goodbye to Peggy. So I was like, bye Peggy, and got the heck out of there. Like I didn't want anything else to do with that room. And so unfortunately for me, when we exit the room, she just closes the door, and then we stay standing outside Peggy's room while she explains the next room that we're gonna go into. So I'm like, I can still feel the energy of the doll. I'm very lightheaded, and I'm starting to feel like a heat wave. Like I'm getting very hot, very sweaty, but I've got cold chills. So I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that we're still standing outside of Peggy's room. And my legs just go numb. And I cannot feel my legs, they're tingling, they're numb. I start to feel like I'm gonna buckle at any minute and just pass out. And so I'm just hoping that she'll finish explaining things and we can just go. I guess I wasn't paying attention because she was explaining the divot box room. Lucky for me, I already knew a lot about the divot box room, so the fact that I didn't hear her explaining things didn't make me miss out on too much, because I'm already a nerd about all this stuff. Like I knew everything in the museum before I went there because I was so excited. And so we go into the divot box room, but I'm still feeling like dizzy and lightheaded, and I'm still feeling like this heavy, like, just like, it's like walking through a fog. I felt like I was walking through a fog. And so my boyfriend is like really wanting to get close and look at the divot box and like observe it, but I'm already freaking out because of Peggy. So I'm like, don't get too close, don't touch anything, like just look. And so I look at it. I see the sage and the salt around the glass display that the box is inside of, and I was like, I am not messing with this today. Like, they already have it saged and they have it salted off. Like, I'm not getting anywhere close to this box. So I kept quite a distance from the display box, and I actually couldn't stay in the room for much longer, so I just walked out and waited for the rest of the group to come out so that we could go to the next room. Lucky for me, this is also like pretty much the end of the tour. We had one more room to go before we were put into the gift shop. So the fact that I'm getting all these effects towards the end was probably best for me, because if I had felt like this the whole way, I don't know if I would have made it throughout the whole museum without like blacking out or something, because I'm very sensitive to spirit energy and it just really affects me in a very deep way. And so the next room we go into is the Demon House documentary room. And it's basically like the basement of the demon house where the pentagram and everything was. So I peek in and I just couldn't look. Like, he has the demon from the movie over in the corner, and I just couldn't look at it without feeling extremely uncomfortable. I looked in it for a couple minutes, got uncomfortable, and I was like, I'm done. Other people can look in. Like, I don't want to dwell on this room much longer, because I just wanted to get the heck out of the museum at this point. As cool as it was to me, as much as I am like a ghost nerd and I like thrive for this stuff, I was not feeling comfortable, and I was feeling like I was on the verge of just passing out. And so finally we go into the gift shop, and I actually did see Zak Bagans' mom in the gift shop. Me being the socially awkward person that I am, I didn't ask her for a picture or anything because I was slightly worried it wasn't her and it was just someone that looked like her, so I didn't get a picture. Wish I had gotten a picture, but it was still cool to say that I did see his mom. Now, we did get a little tidbit from one of the tour guides that Zak was there in the museum, him and Aaron, but I didn't get to see him at all. I saw his truck parked out in the parking lot, but I didn't see him. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for me because I really wanted to meet him. I've been a huge fan for like half of my life, as long as I can remember. And so I was a little bummed about that. Now, I go about the rest of my day. I'm enjoying Vegas. We're going around the strip. We're just doing things that you do in Vegas. And I didn't think about the museum again, because once I left that museum, I felt completely different. I was perfectly back to normal and everything was fine. So then we get back to our hotel room, and I hadn't thought twice about the museum. Like, we talked about it driving from the museum to back to the strip, but I didn't really think about how I was feeling. I just kind of, didn't follow me, we're good, whatever. Wasn't that open to it, I was just feeling energies. So finally, we go back to the hotel room for the night, and we're getting ready for bed, and I just go right to sleep. I'm not even freaked out or anything. In the middle of the night, after having an awful nightmare. I used to have nightmares back in high school and stuff, but I hadn't had nightmares for a while up to this point. And so having such a graphic, evil, dark nightmare like I had had that night was just very weird in itself, because it had been such a long time since I had had a nightmare like this. So the nightmare was basically just this really dark, horned figure that, of course, I couldn't see his face or anything. He's just this dark, horned figure, and he was just watching over me, but like had a very intimidating energy, and it just felt really uncomfortable. And he just was everywhere that I was looking. He was in every corner, whatever. And so I wake up already like uncomfortable, not liking the nightmare I had. And I kid you not, I see that same thing from my nightmare over in the corner of my bed by the window, just standing there staring at me. So this is freaking me out. I'm like, maybe I'm still sleeping. Maybe this freaked me out enough that I'm still in a dreamlike state that I think I'm seeing this. So I gave it a little bit. I woke myself up, but I just couldn't shake that figure. It stayed there for a good 30 minutes while I was trying to wake up, and then it moved, hiding behind the curtains, like it was trying to get creepier or something. So it moved, hiding behind the curtains. I could still see the figure, but it was behind our curtains in the room. So I don't even know, the night just passed like so quick. It went from being pitch black night to all of a sudden the sun is coming up and I can see light coming through the window, and I just couldn't keep my eyes off the figure. I didn't dare move. I was like frozen solid with fear. And so we had a hotel room where it was separate beds, and so I ended up going and crawling in bed with my boyfriend because I just couldn't sleep knowing that that figure was there. So I finally was just like, I'm just ignoring it, I'm gonna go get some sleep. So I crawl in bed with him, maybe got like an hour or so of sleep. So then we get up the next morning and we were driving home from our trip. So I specifically said in the room, like, nothing is allowed to follow me home. You can stay here. I'm not welcoming this. Like, you're dark. I don't want you. You're staying here. You're not following me. And somehow that worked for me. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes you need to take bigger measurements to try and get rid of whatever follows you home from stuff like that, especially such a dark energy. But luckily for me, it actually worked. It didn't follow me home, and I had no other experiences with anything to do with the museum since. Things that were going on in my house were like a completely different story that I needed to deal with on my own, but lucky for me, nothing from the museum happened since. So after having that experience, would I go back to the museum? 100%. I actually would go back anytime. There's just something about the museum that's like pulling me to it. There's also new artifacts that he has gotten that he's added to it, so I just think that that's really cool. I would love to go and revisit. And this time I'll probably have a little bit more protection, have my guard up a bit, because I don't want another night experience like what I had had. But it was such a cool museum, and it was such a cool experience to see all of that. But I would definitely be careful when you do dabble into that stuff, because if you're not expecting it, that's when it hits you the most. That's it for my story today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I just want to start the spooky season a little bit early and keep it going until the end of October. So I hope you guys enjoy my upcoming videos. Bye.